Hey guys, Kuzo here back with another video. In this video today I'm going to be covering a specific topic you might be hearing floating around every once in a while from either an art teacher or a specific artist online or an artist you know. The topic is drawing anime bad? And before we move on to the topic, just in case some of you guys are wondering what I'm going to be drawing in the background back here is and what's going on, it was a Twitch live stream where I asked my listeners to comment in themes and I would choose 4 of them in order to make a character out of them. So without further ado, let's get to the topic. Is drawing anime bad? And if we flip it around, instead of it just being a question, someone actually saying drawing anime is bad, the question comes up, why? When I think of why someone would say this, 3 things come to mind. 1, it's bad because the style's bad. 2, growth as an artist. And 3 would be financial and income. So let's say 10 years ago I would have this conversation of these 3 points with someone. 2 of them would be irrelevant and 1 of them would be very relevant and a very strong point. That strong point would be financial. 10 years ago in the West, there wasn't really a market for anyone who had this style of anime. Most definitely a market for translating and importing anime and manga style goods into the West for people to buy and purchase. Back then, there was no real sustainable way to support yourself with that kind of style. And if there were any, they were definitely few and far in between. Then things started to take a bit of a change. Anime slowly started growing bigger and bigger over here in the West. And many artists who really liked anime and influenced their style, they're now in the field as some higher ups. As anime has started to grow bigger and bigger, it started to become a lot more normalized and a lot more mainstream than it was back then. The mainstream nowadays know a lot more anime names than just Dragon Ball Z and Akira. Super big hits like Attack on Titan, One Punch Man, My Hero Academia. I could also throw Naruto in there, but it was a little bit past its prime by the time things started getting a little bit more normalized. And nowadays, a lot of companies are starting to see the shift towards a more anime style. And you can see this with so many RPG apps nowadays, even ones made from over here in the West. Not all of them, but a lot of them have anime influence to them. If some of you aren't aware, there's a huge shift going on in the game market to mobile games. And I'm not talking about Nintendo Switch necessarily. I'm talking about mobile games on the phone. I can speculate all day on why this is actually happening, but there's one thing that's for sure. There's many AAA game studios that are making more money off of their mobile game counterparts than off of their actual flagship titles. One of the things that could easily be contributing to this kind of shift is the fact that these AAA games are coming out with a price tag of $40 to $60 for the game at launch. I'm not necessarily here to argue on the fact on why the market is shifting in that direction, but more so what it means for us as artists. So many of these mobile apps have such clear anime influences, it's crazy. Whether it be something that is slightly anime influenced or actually anime. This is a really big deal because that is a huge job market for people with an anime style. Background layouts, just everything from 3D to still images and character designs and all that sorts of stuff. And a lot of these styles are more reflectant of more of a semi-realistic, like Final Fantasy, for example, Devil May Cry, which clearly has anime influences to it. And basically the line between the super anime style and then the semi-realistic anime style, such as in video games, the line's starting to become a lot more blurred lately because people are becoming a lot more normalized to this sort of style. Video games do tend to lean more towards the hyper-realistic version of the anime style, but not all of them. But the whole point about that video game rant is that is a professional field that is growing extremely fast and is opening up for people with anime styles for actual professional jobs. And now we have other sorts of income. Being a freelance artist nowadays is so much easier than it was back then, and you could even get hired from a company from overseas. One of my first commissions was actually from a Japanese app company that made an app and had an English version to it, and they wanted me to do some background art for them. And it was a Japanese company. Internet has opened up a whole new world for freelance artists to actually make a full-on living if you're good enough at what you do. That hasn't even gotten into you doing your own thing, you doing you on YouTube or Instagram or Patreon or all of them all together. And yes, that type of work can be sustainable. You have to diversify your income, but it can easily be sustainable. Look at people like Ross Draws, Sakimi-chan, and plenty of other artists that are making a really good living just doing art that they like that clearly have anime influence to them. Well, if anyone talks to you about income, there are jobs out there. You can either get a studio job or you can become a freelance artist. There's some other things that are crazy enough starting to bleed into the West industries, such as manga. And I'm not talking about manga coming here from translation like we talked about before. I'm talking about legitimately companies opening up submissions to create manga style comics for the West. And I can only imagine that they would reverse publish it to Japan because they're specifically opening it up in order to have it to be an anime style, such as Viz. They recently announced that they're going to be opening up manga submissions for Western artists. But that's actually going to be a whole topic for another video. But basically, to put it simply, the manga market for people who want to draw manga in the West is coming. So, you know that there are plenty of people actually making a living with an anime style that don't actually live in Japan. So we've cleared that fact. But if I had this argument 10 years ago, like I was talking about earlier, that definitely would have been something to be concerned about. But nowadays, there are definitely accesses for people with an anime style to make real money. And one of the things we can thank for this is the internet. Now that we cleared up the fact that you can actually make a living off of art with an anime style in this day and age, we can move on to the next points. Let's hop straight up to the first one I said. Style. There are still a lot of people out there, especially certain art teachers, that look at anime as not even being art. Would that mean they consider no cartoons being art? Does that mean they would consider The Simpsons not being art? Would that mean they consider the Avatar not being art? Would that mean they consider Disney, Pixar, and Mario not being art? These are all just animated styles, and anime is just a different style within all of these styles. So if anyone tells you anime isn't art, you can shove that straight up there. No, just kidding. But in all realisticness, just as much of these art teachers would like to say, art is subjective. And if they think anime isn't art, that is an opinion. That is not fact. There are many people that think paint slapped on a canvas, or if poo was smeared all over a canvas and they didn't even know it was poo, they would call that beautiful abstract art. I don't consider that art, but I could see where someone could see the beauty in that, but in the end, once again, that is my opinion, not fact. There are some facts coming right at you where the comic industry is actually struggling, whereas the anime and manga industry are starting to flourish a lot more in the West. And I'm talking about comics specifically. I'm not talking about the live action movies. Those Marvel movies make a buttload, alright? But the interest for a lot of young people have shifted towards anime. And there's going to be a point where anime is even more accepted than it is now. As more people who are influenced are growing up and going into the field is going to become more and more accepting of anime style. You crusty little mean art teachers better get used to it. But now that comes to our last point, growth as an artist. Drawing anime specifically doesn't stunt your growth as an artist, but only drawing anime and not taking real life and real anatomy seriously can stunt your growth as an artist. So there is some truth to that, but that's also all up to what the person is actually taking seriously and trying to study. Because as we can see, there are plenty of manga artists and animators that are fan-frickin-tastic. But this whole argument comes around to making sure you study your fundamentals at the early stages of your art. Even if anime is your primary style, understanding those fundamentals are very important, as fundamentals are really just the skeleton for your style to kind of form around. But just to wrap everything together, no, drawing anime style isn't bad, and yes, there is a way to make a living for it nowadays. And if someone says anime art style is bad, that is an opinion. In any case, if you guys like my arts, want to help support what I do on this channel, you guys check me out on my Patreon, links in the description. But I would like to take this time to thank my current Patreon, She Elizabeth, Woody Ellis, Heke Pelage, Wear My Crown, Daniil Healer, Noah Henderson, Maracuzio, JT, Satoshi, Slow Days, Alpha Dog Studios, Aaron McQuiston, LaCour, Person Smith, David Curtis, 19 Black Dragon 89, Ryan, Malcolm X, This Guy Solo, Parthana, Thomas, Grim Reaper, Spencer, Blake Belcher, Carlos Loza, Wes Flinch, Grimoff, Alicio Claro, David Jordan, Ian Dobb, Johnny Bordrals, Kyle, Aaliyah Williams, and Item Dusty. Huge thanks to all you Patreon pencil shinobis. In any case, if you guys like this video, please hit that thumbs up button, and if you're new to this channel, like what you see, please subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notified when each video comes out. And like always guys, hope you're having a great day, I'll see you in the next video.